Okay, we've had improvised scenes across different films, whether it's DDLJ or whether it's Gangs of Wasseypur.
You're right. So the David Dhawan, because of the comedy duo of Govinda, Johnny Lever, and Govinda with other people that he was collaborating with, and Kadir Khan and all these guys as well. I think what they would do is that they would do improv within scenes, which is the way to sort of juice out all they could from the premise of the scene. So it's like, here, I'll set you guys up over here. This is the girl who's the Dulhan, whatever, might be Twinkle Khanna, whoever it might be. And now you guys are fighting over her. Now let's see where we can be. And I don't know if you know, but Govinda does a lot of this thing in those 90s movies where there used to be a lot of slapping on the face. People lined up and a guy would come and start slapping guys. And if you notice, Govinda in many movies, Joru Ka Gulam and I think Dule Raja and all the other movies, you would see Govinda like move, down one guy, put another guy forward slightly, and, do all these weird ass things that he would do. Oh, dude, it was incredible. But that's all improv. I could not imagine a director telling him those things. You can't possibly tell him such things.
Let's talk about the film where the investors pulled out money just a few weeks before you were going on floors, right? It must have been a heartbreaking moment.
How these production houses work is sort of like they'll have a tent pole or maybe 2 tent poles that they're sort of working with, like some A-listers that they might have. And now those A-listers, they will produce let's say 100 or 150 crore project with these guys. There's this weird money that can spin off the side of these projects. So like they can get 2 crores off the back end or 1 crore off the thing or 3 crores off the thing or whatever. Like the communications we were getting from him were a little more dodgier, getting more sketchier and all. And finally the producer from their end who was working with him, she came to us and she said finally that, listen, it's looking like that dude's pulling out and that whole project's has crashed down. The investors have pulled out of that project because that has crashed down and hence we all die.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Voice podcast again. This is your host Neil Nakra, and today I have a very special guest with us. His name is Karan Gour, and he's not just a talented musician, but he's a terrific filmmaker. And boy, I can't wait to talk about the film that he's made right now. So without wasting any time, Karan, welcome.
Thanks, man. Hey.
Yeah, how's it going, dude?
Good, man. Good. Everything's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Dude, we have to talk about what you've made.
Yeah.
What is Ferry Folk, dude? What is the film?
It's, we made this out of, it's been like 4 years or something like that. It's taken us to make this movie. But it's basically like this movie about this one guy who lives in the jungle sort of thing. Not a guy, not a girl. It's this genderless sort of thing that walks into their life of like a couple that's living in Bombay and sort of just goes into their life and sort of messes things up. Basically, that's the easiest way to put it without giving spoilers. But I think the main key in this movie is the fact that it's all in improv. So it's like we wrote the script down, that we had like a 30-page script or whatever, but all the dialogues that you hear in it are all improvised by the actors.
Got it. So for our listeners who are not familiar with improv, let's start with breaking that down.
Yeah. So improv is basically it's a form that's been used in like dramatics and like theater for like a very long time, but it's basically an idea of staying present in the moment, and everything that you do there's this one, it's like a game is what they sort of call it. It's like you're always playing a game, and the game is basically to yes and everything. So it's basically if somebody says something to you, make sure that you come back with something else that can give them an opportunity to also reply to it. So you can't block people off from what they're saying. So if you say, hey, what's your name? You can't say, I don't want to say the name. No, I'm not going to tell you my name, whatever. Tell them your name and maybe give them something else to do it. Or just tell them your name and they will find something to and with it and continue it on. So through that simple, the fundamental is that. And then from that, you can sort of branch out and make more and more complicated components of that. And like in our film, for example, the improvised game was the scene itself, and then it was also these motivations and these, the little like pieces of fodder that I used to give the actors during the take, like right after the take, between takes or whatever. And I used to give it to them in secret, so you're not allowed to tell the other person what it is. Just bring it. And they would like surprise the entire people with something new that they've sort of thought of or whatever it might be. So everybody just plays the game. Don't stop yourself from playing the game. Keep playing the game again and again and again. And that's basically improvising. I think you're going to interview maybe Mukul or something, or maybe the actors or something like that as well. They have a much better way of saying it because Mukul and Raseka have both done improv in Bombay. And Mukul, in fact, has the Improv Mumbai group as well that they sort of are doing shows and they do it. And the actors in my movies were with Ankit and Avinash. These guys are all part of that group.
Yeah.
And they're exceptional, man. They're like really, really cool improvisers. I've done like maybe like 2 workshops with these guys because we were rehearsing, and my head hurts, man, when you start thinking. It's really hard, man.
No, there's a very thriving improv community in Mumbai. There is
Yeah.
Ankit's, then there is, I think it's Bombay Herald or something.
Yeah, there's another one like that.
Yeah, and then there's Neville who's doing his sandbox thing that is happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've taken part in some of these workshops and it's been crazy, dude. But coming back to your films, man, I remember reading this Reddit comment from Anurag Kashyap complimenting one of your films, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's being too ahead of its time. Was it Ferry Folk?
No, it was another movie that we were trying to make that was called, during when Anurag was a part of it, it was called Arky's Lyrebird. And then we had to change the name to Blumage because we were sort of constantly trying to make it into a budget that would fit. And Anurag had actually read it really early on, a draft of it, and he had signed on to sort of help us produce it and get it off the ground and all. That was a hard one, man. We were trying to get money for it, trying to figure it out, and it took me about 8 years or so just trying to cycle it through. And then in 2018, March, we were very close to filming it.
Okay.
We had got an investor and everybody sorted out, but the investors pulled out maybe like about a week or 2 weeks before we shot. So I had the cinematographer we had done all the work for it, and then they pulled out, and it was just horrible. So it was in March, it ended. In April, I wrote Ferry Folk, and in September, I started shooting it. Because I was like, man, I had enough. I couldn't like, again, go through the process of, again, waiting with another script and all. So I said, I want to do something quick, get something off the ground, and just...
And that's when you started doing Ferry Folk.
Started doing Ferry Folk, yeah.
Crazy, man. So let's talk about the film where the investors pulled out money just a few weeks before you were going on floors, right? Blumage, right?
Yeah.
So it must have been a heartbreaking moment, like the least, to say the least, right?
Yeah.
But do you know why that happened?
Yeah, it was something, so basically it was a production house that was, how these production houses work is sort of like they'll have a tent pole or maybe 2 tent poles that they're sort of working with, like some A-listers that they might have. And now those A-listers, they will produce let's say 100 or 150 crore project with these guys. There's this weird money that can spin off the side of these projects. So like they can get 2 crores off the back end or 1 crore off the thing or 3 crores off the thing or whatever. So they will give smaller films that kind of money. So our budget at that point in time was about 4.5 or 5 crores for Blumage. So the guy was like, okay, I could probably spin off 2 crores right now. So you guys could probably shoot the first chunk of the movie you guys want right now. So we were like, okay, we'll try to do that first. Meanwhile, this dude the main producer was also having a fight or something with the main A-list actor. I don't want to say who the actor's name is, but basically that dude they were sort of at odds with each other. So like me and Shan was the producer at that time. There was Shan Vyas that we were working with. And me and Shan were like, man, this is not looking good. Okay. And this was like about a month or so before. Like the communications we were getting from him were a little more dodgier, getting more sketchier and all. And finally the producer from their end, who was working with him, she came to us and she said finally that, listen, it's looking like that dude's pulling out and that whole project's has crashed down. The investors have pulled out of that project because that has crashed down and hence we all die. Sorry, underneath all this. So that was that. There's nothing you can do about it.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
So you've been at it for a while. In fact, one of your first films, was it Shea?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like really recognized for being an independent film back in the day, like when filmmaking was not as accessible as it is today.
Yeah.
Where you put that film together. Was it a crew of 4 people, if I recall correctly?
Yeah, crew was 2 people, and then the actors were the other 2 people.
Got it. So basically 4 people.
Pretty much. Yeah, 4 of us
And
going.
what was the budget like?
5 lakhs, I think.
5 lakhs back in the day.
Yeah.
So let's actually, you know what? We should definitely understand your journey, right?
Yeah.
How did you get into filmmaking? And I'm sure there's a lot of insights that you can share on independent filmmaking, you know. So let's start with that. So let's start with how you got into filmmaking, Shea, and then let's go from there.
So I got into filmmaking actually in a weird route. I was doing music for like a really long time in school and all. I think I learned the piano and all that stuff when I was like 7 or 6 years old or something like that. And from then on, I've always wanted to do like background scores for movies. Like, and I thought background scores in the sense that I thought I would do it for primarily like Discovery and National Geographic documentaries about like wildlife and stuff like that. I thought those were insane. Like cheetahs running and then you make this fucking crazy thing or whatever. Can I swear?
Yeah.
Okay. So they make this crazy thing behind it. And so from then I said that when I came out, I was in Delhi at that time after that, once I started getting into music properly. And for music production, you needed to know how to use softwares like DAWs, basically, these DAWs. So I had like I'd figured out Fruity Loops. I think it was at that
Yeah,
in 2000 and
FSU,
2000 I was So on my little Pentium, I was like learning that stuff. And once I got a hang of it, I said, okay, let me go out there and see what I can do with it. And everybody over there was like, listen, I think what you should do is put a demo together and sort of run with that. So I put a little demo of like ad jingles and different things that I could do. And at the same time, I'd finished my undergrad, my like graduation or whatever in computer science at the time in Delhi. So I was like, okay, let's do something else now with it. And you know how mums are always like, dude, at least do a backup degree and all that. So that was the backup degree. And she's like, okay, now that you've done that, if you want to pursue something else, you can. So I said, okay, I want to do like sound engineering somewhere, because that was the only other way you could get into music, into like commercial, like, in a space where you can make money off it. So then we found out that there's a course here in Bombay called SAE, which is a School of Audio Engineering on Veer Desai Road. But it's shut now. It was there then. And so in 2005, I said, okay, I'll come in, I'll bring my demos and I'll run around and I'll do stuff with it or whatever. So came here, started shopping it around, and everybody was like, yeah, but you got to, assist some dude inside a studio, and now you got to do this, and now you got to do that. I said, look, so all of these have nothing to do with making music. It just has to do with running around and doing stuff. So 2005, I started doing the course, and I think in 2007, I said, listen, I'm just going to make a movie, and I'll score that movie. That's just easier to do. So that's when I wrote Shea, and I said that, okay, this is a good movie that I can probably score to or whatever. Before I knew it, it was way more than I thought it would be. Making a movie was way harder than making the score of it. And then I was also, I don't want to say that I wasn't, but I was also into writing and like making movies, because I'd read the Pulp. I was a huge Tarantino fan at that time. Like when I was 16, I used to, like 13 or something, I saw Pulp Fiction for the first time. I read the script of Pulp Fiction when I was about 16. It came out in a book form, and I was like, man, this is insane. I never knew that the words that these guys speak are actually written. I always thought that they make it up on the spot. Because I said that it sounds too real, because when the acting is spot on, then it's like, I can't tell whether. But then I read Pulp Fiction, and all the laughs were in there, all the O's and the R's and everything was in there. So I'm like, okay, I can definitely try to do this, because just pen and paper doesn't require any money for that. So I started to write some stuff down, and I think Shea came out of that as well as writing stuff down. So it took about 4 years or so for me and Abhinay. Abhinay was my flatmate at the time, and he was like this tech guy. He had all these cameras, and he was doing stuff with it. So I was like, listen, Abhinay, you got to just come shoot this with me, man. It's not too much of work. We'll just try to figure this thing together. So then we both did it, and I think I promised him that it'd take like 20 days of shoot, some shit. It took like 2.5 years of shooting. And he was so deep into it was deep. I got Raseka from Alek. Alek was the guy who plays Arvind in the movie, who's the guy.
So can you name the actors properly?
Yeah, so Alek Sangal plays Arvind, and Raseka Dughal plays Chhaya, who's his wife in that. Yeah, and the movie's basically about a woman who goes batshit crazy trying to get this Lakshmika statue because she wants to get pregnant. And Lakshmi was wrongly put into her head by a neighbor, saying that उसने लक्ष्मी के उस पे पूजा किया और उसके बाद उसके कोप में भगवान ने बच्चा डाल दिया. And she's like, that's how I'm going to get pregnant or whatever. So she goes crazy because of that. So that's what the movie's about. And so Alek came first, auditioned him, and I asked Alek, I said, do you know any of the actresses or anybody who I can get for this? And he put me in touch with Raseka. Raseka at that time had done nothing. I think she had done Anwar, that one movie a long time ago called Anwar. And she had a small role in that.
So this was probably one of her first pivotal roles, is it?
Yeah, I think she had just done FTI like a couple of years ago, or maybe a year ago, or something like that at that time.
So you basically discovered a gem, huh?
Yeah, dude, actually, yeah. The girl who plays Shruti in the movie, her name is Nithika Anand. She's a big TV actress, and she was big even then. And I had cast her for playing the Chhaya thing. I cast her for that. I thought she would audition for that. She was also really good. And the thing is that she was not fitting the person that I wanted her to be, because she was a little taller than I wanted Chhaya to be. Because the statue, for example, was, let's say, 6.5 feet tall. I needed this person to look up at it, and she's tall. So it was weird physically to do all that, right? So she told me that there's this one girl named Raseka. Okay, you should try to get in touch with her. I said, cool. And Raseka came in and she auditioned for I messed it up. Actually, Alek did not tell me Raseka. Raseka told me Alek. I'll tell you about that later. So then she told me about this girl who has really good Hindi diction. Damn good Hindi diction. I said, okay, I need Hindi diction. That's really good. We'll get her. And then she was doing plays at that time or whatever. The Raseka came in, I think it was 2-page scene or something. I wanted her to audition. I think like 3 lines into it. I was like, okay, you got the part, man. That's what you need to do.
What was it that, like you immediately convinced you? Like, was it like her?
It was her eyes, and it was just her, dude. It was just her acting, the skill, man. Like she's really really skilled. Like she's damn good. Like she's man. It's hard to describe when you see a really good actor. You suddenly, what happens to my head when I see a really good actor is that my brain says, "Oh my God! Like I don't have to think about this person. Like this person is insane. All we need to do now is work to make this role come out. There's no acting needed. This person knows all of it. Like, and basically what it is that I should not be able to figure out the mechanics of what they're doing. That's the idea. Many actors that you work with, you can look at them and you're like, okay, I know exactly what they're doing wrong. Now I have to fix that.
Right.
Yeah, but that's not my job. As a director, you're not meant to fix acting. You're meant to cast people who already know the craft, and you just have to come in there and make the character together. That's where we're collaborating.
Crazy, man. And I'm glad that, you were one of the first guys to, find Rasika as a talent and got a chance to work with her. Since then, the kind of work she's done like speaks for itself. What is your most favorite role about her? Just
Her favorite role?
yeah, since then, like how you've seen her, grow and mature as an actor.
I still like her in my movie a lot. I still like her in Shea a lot. Because I know that what we sort of went through in the way that she was doing it and how I think vulnerable she was during that time. Because she was we did the film, we finished it maybe in 2010, we finished her part of shooting it, and I was still in post-production or whatever. I maybe met her in 2015, and she would be like, hey, Karan, I figured out how to cry on screen. Like, I figured out on the note, like how to do it like that. Because, we used to roll for maybe, back in the day, we used to roll for maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get her into the mood, because she was still trying to find those processes out in her. So we would leave the room and leave her alone and all that stuff. She said, now just tell me, I can do it in 5 seconds. See, like, I can try that. Now do it.
Crazy.
I wish we could, she would come up to me suddenly and she'd be like, man, I wish we could shoot that movie again because I figured out so many new things. And so, yeah, that's really cool. That she was I think she still is trying to exploring the mechanics of it all. And I think that's really cool.
Good one, man. And you made this entire film across so many years just so that you could, score. And recently you were a part of the music team for Lakkot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What was that journey like?
You mean like the background score journey and doing all of that?
Yeah, I mean, Lakkot, it's one of my favorite shows out there. And Navdeep's work is amazing. I wish like we would talk about that more often with different people.
I know.
But that show is a living legend, I think, right now.
Yeah. No, and it was fun though, man. Lakkot specifically was like a great thing. But Navdeep was one of the first guys after Kanu. Kanu saw Shea and he liked the music of it. And I think asked Shan, he said that Shan, does Karan just want to score or does he want to just direct or whatever? And Shan was like, no, he's interested in scoring as well. So we had Titli then. So Kanu was like, you want to do Titli or whatever. So we did Titli together. And Navdeep found out from, I think Sharat Kataria, one of the writers, I think, of Titli. And he said that, listen, is Karan scoring? Like, is that what he does now? Or is he just again directing? And Shah said, no, he scores as well. So if you want for whatever, and he was doing NH10 then.
Got it.
So I was like, okay. And he called me and he said, you want to do this, whatever? I said, yeah, I'll do it. So I was just bouncing from project to project like that. And then Shea Lakkot came in much the same way where he had done the show and he was looking for somebody to score it for him. So then he called me, he said, listen, are you interested in doing this? I said, yeah, man.
So your objective was accomplished, huh? Like, you made a film to
and got scores.
And you got an Anushka Sharma film.
Yeah, exactly. That's true. And I didn't know it's a whole other thing of what I thought of and what it actually became, but I still really enjoy it. It's really fun. Especially the fact that I can talk now to filmmaking has become my number one thing over even scoring. And I realized that I've gotten so much of experience from working with these other directors, because most other directors don't work with other directors.
Sorry, say that again.
Most directors don't work with other directors. They don't know how film directors actually work unless you're working in a different capacity.
Oh, that way, got it.
There are 2 directors in a movie, so one director, right?
Yeah.
So like Navdeep would ask me what is Kanu like when he does that? And he'll ask me what is this person like. So it's like that, so it's pretty fun. You get to see the inner workings of how these other people do it. Yeah.
That's interesting. So, I mean, contrary to one perspective, which is that a lot of directors become directors also after assisting.
Yeah.
So they get a perspective on how their mentors or people they've been working as a crew for get a perspective on how different directors work. But it's also good insight to have that, okay, some directors haven't had that perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, I don't know if, again, I think India is one of the few countries, or maybe the only country, that goes this way with the films. Like, assistant directors is the way to get into directing.
Yep.
Two completely different jobs.
Yeah.
Like, there's a dude who I was working in LA with, we were trying to do the thing. He's still an assistant director and he's 57 years old.
Yeah. That's a career. Like, okay, I want to become an assistant director and,
Yeah.
like retire with that, right? That's crazy.
Yeah, man. Try to separate Paul Thomas Anderson from his AD and you can't. The first ADs, they won't let them go to. They won't do the film if you don't get the first AD schedule. That's the thing, man. That's how strong that job is.
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah.
Good one, man. So let's come back to Ferry Folk again.
Sure.
I saw it last night.
Yeah.
And dude, I was blown. Like, first of all, even just the story of it, it's so reflective in nature, right? Like, you're seeing something that is possibly happening in every other household in different forms, right?
Yeah.
But most importantly, just noticing the filmmaking, and as we discuss about the improv part of it, let's talk about the improv culture in filmmaking. Okay, so I've heard this across through other filmmakers as well. Like, okay, that India has had a culture of improvising, since a long time. You know, where we have filmmakers like David Dhawan who would not take full out scripts to the sets, and they would let the actors do their things, right? So improv has been a part of filmmaking culture here.
Right.
But I think somewhere it took a backseat where, okay, we've had improvised scenes across different films, whether it's DDLJ or whether it's Gangs of Wasseypur.
Right.
And in the West, we've had like projects like Blair Witch Project, which was a complete film which was improvised, right?
Yeah.
So let's understand, what does that mean from a filmmaking perspective? Also the pros and cons of it.
So I think like improvising in films, for example, like for what I watch and from what I have done, is that I think it's much earlier than all of that stuff, because I think like well, I don't know if Marlon Brando and those guys have done it, but I know that some of the first earlier ones that I know of is the John Cassavetes movies, which is like late 60s and early 70s. So he made a movie called Shadows back in the day, which was his first film. And he said that I'm just going to do Shadows completely improv. And he said, forget the script. I'm just going to do it completely. He got a group of guys together. And he said, let's build the story as we go along. They released it in the theater and they did so badly that the distributor said, we're removing the film from the theater. We're never going to do this film. Okay. So no more than maybe 2 or 3 days or whatever. And he was devastated. He was like, I don't know what to do. So he took all that footage and he said, from this footage, I'm going to try to cut a film out of it that is better than this. And I'm going to also write a script with it that I'm going to try to, which should contain improv moments from the improvising. I'm going to use that in the script form, write those lines out, and then shoot it again. So that really worked out. So Shadows, the one that we see now, is not that crap one that according to him was really bad. It's the new and improved Shadow that he used from that. From that point onwards, I think he began to use improv as a big tool for writing scripts. He was married to, and I have completely forgotten her name, but she's one of the greatest actresses who ever lived. They did a movie called A Woman Under the Influence, and there was these remarkable films that you cannot walk away from, all done through improvising, and they would write those scripts out from the recordings of improvising that they had done. And then came Mike Leigh, and Mike Leigh does improvising to another level, and he does pure improvising on set, which is basically they write the script out again, but he works with the characters for a really long time, the actors, until they are characters themselves in day-to-day. So like he will make them go and shop, go and buy wine, buy alcohol. Don't film them, but you do it in character the whole time. And from something like that, one of the seminal movie of improv that has come up called Naked, if you guys have ever seen that. Naked's the greatest improv movie that has ever been made. It's one dude on a bender, okay, who's just running around the city, and he's talking about life and everything that it means to him and all the immoralities of it all and all. But you see him talk, and first of all, he should have gotten all the writing credits because he's the guy who wrote all of it together. And I don't know how he's done it. Like, he's so incredible in that. But anybody who wants to seek it out should really watch that movie as well. And then in Bollywood at the same time, I think it was, you're right. So the David Dhawans, because of the comedy duo of Govinda, Johnny Lever, and Govinda with other people that he was collaborating with, and Kadir Khan and all these guys as well. I think what they would do is that they would do improv within scenes, which is the way to sort of juice out all they could from the premise of the scene. So it's like, here, I'll set you guys up over here. This is the girl who's the Dulan, whatever, might be Twinkle Khanna, whoever it might be. And now you guys are fighting over her. Now let's see where we can be. And if you notice, I think there was a lot of wide angles that they would shoot it with, which is the hardest, but also the best way to shoot comedy, which is go wide on these guys, have 4 people in like a 4-shot or a 3-shot or whatever it might be. And I don't know if you know, but Govinda does a lot of this thing in those 90s movies where there used to be a lot of slapping on the face. People lined up and a guy would come and start slapping guys. And if you notice, Govinda in many movies, Joru Ka Gulam and I think Dule Raja and all the other movies, you would see Govinda like move, down one guy, put another guy forward slightly, and, do all these weird ass things that he would do. Oh, dude, it was incredible. But that's all improv. I could not imagine a director telling him those things. You can't possibly tell him such things. And so I think from that came, I remember there was the 25th anniversary of Satya as well recently. And I remember them talking, Ramu was also talking about that, all of that, a lot of it was improv, especially that scene where he cuts the cheek. If you remember in the opening scene, they're at a buffalo dairy farm, whatever. And then this guy comes and pulls out a razor and chops the guy's cheek off and he cuts himself and he yells out. And seeing that screech that he had done also was so powerful that they had to build the whole scene around that. And they knew that shot was going to be in and then now redo it again, keeping that in mind and all. So that's pretty incredible. But I think one of the main reasons that like Taxi Driver having You Talking to Me being one of those scenes or whatever, why all of it cannot be improv is because it's very, very difficult to cover improv economically with cameras. So for example, if you have a single camera setup, I can't cover improv unless I do a wide. If the way that you guys are set up the camera with over the shoulder, me and you can do improv and I can keep cutting back and forth with it, okay? But after a while, it begins to get boring. So I have to then cut a wide somewhere. But when do I cut to the wide? Because I don't know what the hell these guys are going to say. So I can't push in. I can zoom, but in post. I can't zoom because what are you going to say that I'm going to zoom and get focus on? You get what I'm saying? So, and then it's also like the boom operators who are holding boom mics. Who are they focusing on? Who is the focus puller pulling on? So like with Ferry Folk, that was the biggest problems that we were having behind camera. It was like, I was not allowed to tell the actors where they can walk, what they can say, anything. I could just tell them that these are where the cameras are set up. Just know that these are where the cameras are set up. That's it. And after that, so they would walk off frame. If you remember the first scene also in the movie, Mukul and Raseka also walk off the right side. They're out. And I was like, okay, they're out of frame, then they're out of frame. Thankfully, the mics are now radio mics, so they can sort of keep capturing like satellites far away and then pull them back in. But that was it. And then I was like telling Abhinay, because Abhinay was shooting it, but we had 3 cameras doing Ferry Folk. So we had to cover it all with 3 cameras. Then you have to set up the cameras in closed spaces like this room, for example, where the cameras can be seen. And if they can be seen, then I have to make sure that the characters don't walk behind the cameras. Because in VFX, I can't remove the camera if the person has gone behind it. I can remove the camera if the guy goes in front of it. You know why? Because then I don't have any footage for covering for when I remove the camera, what the hell is behind it now? So keep all these things in mind. It sort of helps that I did Shea and all these movies all by myself. Is because it, like all by myself, like the post and all that stuff with Abhinay, that both of us together could figure out the limitations of where we would hit on post-production. Otherwise, I would have to have a whole VFX team on that, which is this. So Ferry Folk, I did the VFX I did it along with another company called Pixelation. So that character that is there, that human guy, that weird guy who comes up, he has really smooth skin.
Yeah.
Dude, that was 5 months of work, man, on my laptop.
So that was all digital?
Yeah, that was all. I had to I had to clean him completely, smoothen his skin out, remove all grain, remove all noise from him, yeah.
Crazy, dude.
And you have problems, like you'll get problems like his hair. You can't keep shaving his head. You got to keep, after a while, he's going to grow a little bit of hair growth. Even over here, he's going to get that little greenishness that you get from the thing. And you can't have that on him, so you got to clean all that out again. So that's all, again, months and months of frame by frame removal of all that.
I honestly thought at one point they were practical effects.
Yeah, it is a lot of it was practical, but also you have to do a lot of VFX with it. It's just too hard. Makeup can do just enough. Removing of nipples, dude, that's a lot of shit you got to do, yeah. In our budget. Because the budget that we were getting to get it done so that it's all practical was like our budget of a movie.
Crazy, man.
It's nuts, man.
Dude, it's fascinating that you have created something which has so many constraints. But when I was watching the film, because I knew it is improvised, I could appreciate the acting a lot more. Because the actors are also like building on lines after lines on the spot, right?
Yeah.
What it did on many levels was that there was not a moment where I felt the actors are overacting. Like, okay, this is exactly how a person would behave in a situation, in real life, which was kind of making the whole experience quite authentic.
Yeah.
Also, improv, I think, innately, as we talk about in the community, is that it innately evokes empathy. The moment you see somebody improvising, you're like, oh shit, they could fuck it up any moment.
Yeah.
But then they get it right.
Yeah.
So you naturally have a lot, like you're with the characters a lot more, with the actors a lot more.
Yeah.
What I do want to understand is that the filmmaking of it, let's take an example of your most favorite scene from the film. And let's talk about what was in the script, what the actors did, and what happened in post.
What was in the script was basically scenes.
Let's start with what the scene is about.
What the scene is about, right?
Yeah.
So I'm saying it was A to B is what we had written down. So, I mean, if you take any scene, for example, they're sitting on a...
Take your favorite scene.
Yeah, let's say the scene from the trailer, for example. There's both of them sitting on a table. And Mohit, who's Mukul, he walks in with this guy who starts serving. He tells this person to serve... Shit, man, sorry. Who tells this one to serve Nithika food and almost feed her with it, right? And so that scene had a previous scene before it, which is that he has figured out this dude, how to get him to do different things or whatever it might be. So first and foremost, you have to shoot linearly, because I cannot go to the next scene with the actor if they have not improv the previous scene. Yeah, so that's the biggest constraint that we had, which makes the movie very expensive to shoot as well, because of this reason. So now my motivation that I've written for that scene is whatever happened in the previous scene, they will remember. And now I will write some other stuff like, hey, during the day, this is what you did. And you were also wondering, you were dying for Rasieka to come back home so that you could show her this thing. For Rasieka, I would write, you've had a really long day at work. It's been endless hours. You've been shooting for, let's say, 2 days straight. Finally, you're getting to sit there and have this thing. And I'm not going to tell her what's going to happen in the scene because that's in the script. But I'll give her that motivation. So she will come in and she's on the phone. Her hair's sort of gone down and she's tired. And now he will walk in with this thing. And now the way she will react to that is completely on her thing, but she's going to use that motivation that she has. And Mukul's going to use this motivation, that Mohit's going to use the motivation that he has. And that's sort of how we approached all the scenes that we were sort of with. And the improvising comes out of that. And I think that's what the fun part is of that. What's the next question you said? What after that? What's the post?
So, how you shot, and then how it was in the post to put that together?
How it was in the post. So then after that you shoot, and then with the way we shot it was that we had a wide and we had 2 cameras on this side. And every once in a while, I think after we do maybe a 15-minute or 20-minute long take of over the shoulders, I will flip cameras around just a little bit. So maybe I'll capture it from another end and do the wide can go back a little bit. Now I constrain myself a little bit with the cinematography for thematic reason, is that you're not allowed to shoot it like this. We can't shoot at an angle. It has to be straight symmetrical with the environment that we're in. So this camera will be there actually, right behind your head almost. So because I wanted the environment to be perfectly straight, aligned and symmetrical at all times. And I wanted the characters to be the ones that are the ones moving and sort of messing it up. Because it's a sort of like talking about nature versus human environments is what we were trying to do. Because when you go to the jungle, for example, is the only time we go handheld. And we walk around it. And if you notice that those 2-3 scenes that we had over there. So because of that, we had the coverage was a little limited with the way we could do it. So that's how we covered it. And once we got the coverage done, then in post, it was just editing this thing together, which is, I think maybe that scene specifically would have been about 50 minutes or so of footage that we had. And I had to cut that down into a minute and a half or 2 minutes of a scene or whatever it might be. And you can't keep cutting back and forth.
Sorry, repeat that again. How long was total rush?
So the footage would be about 45, 50 minutes for
45, 50 minutes, and you got it down to?
A minute and a half, 2 minutes maybe. Yeah. So we had in totality, we had about 3,500, between 3,000 to 3,500 minutes of footage for the whole movie that we had to bring down to 100 minutes.
Dude, you're talking about 95% reduction.
Yeah, it's 100 minutes. That's how you shoot. That's how you have to do it.
So, is that... What were you cutting? Like 95% of the stuff that you shot, you're editing it out.
Yeah.
Are you cutting out tracks and stories? Are you cutting out dialogues that are not necessary for the film, or what is it?
Everything. So Mukul used to keep cracking a joke because they used to do the scenes together, and he used to be like, man, that's like 4 films in there that you have footage for. So I could also take it and turn it a different way if it did not work in a certain way. Because they would give options, because I would never limit them. I would tell them every time you go into the scene, every time I do a retake, don't stick to what you've done before. Actors have a tendency to hit the mark every single time. So I was like, don't do that. Just free yourself. Keep the motivation in mind. Keep the script that you guys read, the scene in mind. But don't keep doing the same thing again and again. So start in a different way. And I would give them a different motivation for that or whatever it might be. So yeah, you gotta you gotta find the best through line. It's actually written on the editing table. It's not written as much in the script as it is on the editing table. And then you have to find the through. Like I, as a director and editor and writer, have to find the through line of the scene, and then find the through line of the entire movie together.
Correct. So you basically wrote the script
on the editing table. Yeah. Totally. That's where improv movies are usually written, is on the editing. And that is why you will notice, maybe not Larry David for Curb Your Enthusiasm, but I think like Joe Swanberg and all these guys, everybody's an editor as well. We all have to edit our own work. You can't.
Yeah, it kind of, now that we're talking about it, it kind of makes sense why people do go the writing way first, where, okay, you pen down the script to the T as much as possible.
Yeah.
Then you make it economical from a production standpoint. And the editor then has to just put what was written together with the footage, right?
Yeah.
So that, it kind of shows why that process exists over shooting every film as an improv.
Right.
Yeah, although there's so much to appreciate about an improvised film and the nuances that you can capture, which a script can never do.
Yeah.
But it also makes sense kind of how tedious that edit table might look like. How long did it take for you to edit it?
15 months or so, a year and 3 months it took me.
What was the schedule when you were editing it?
Just keep editing it. Just wake up and edit, and make some money on the side, wake up and edit, and keep doing that, yeah. So there were no breaks, it's just you got to keep doing it. And but it was fun. Every scene that would get done, I would like sigh and probably get drunk that night. And every scene that I would start, so that drunkenness, to be drunk, was both because celebration of the end of that scene and the fact that I got to start another one.
How often did you get drunk because of scenes getting over?
No, there were 70 scenes, at least 70 times I got drunk.
Yeah, so 15 months, 70 scenes, 70 times you got drunk, but how frequent were they?
Must have been, dude, it took me maybe, so some scenes were quicker to edit, some scenes were just longer.
Got it.
There was one scene in there, dude, it took me, I think, about 2 weeks to edit that scene down, because it was just too many moving parts in that scene and the people, and too many outs I had. Sometimes when it has when the actors have limited the amount of outs that they've given me also, it makes my job a little easier. But those outs only get limited when the plot is a little bit more intricate at that moment in time. So like, I mean, I can't get into the movie, but you know, like the tire scene at the end, you know, where she's hitting it. Now, we all know what the focus was there, right? But that was a fun scene, man, because basically the scene has, just without giving anything away, was basically Rithika, which is Raseka, and another guy named Kabir. They're both sitting over there. They have a secret that they got to hold on to. And Mukul, who's on the other end, is trying to get this secret out of them. That, what do you mean by this thing that you've just said out, right? So it took about 15 or 20 minutes or so that he was flustered, okay? Because the motivation for Rithika and CC Chandrachur, who was playing Kabir, was that do not tell him anything. You guys have made this mistake of blurting it out. Now, more than that, you're not going to tell him anything else. Mukul's job as motivation was to get it out of them. Okay, so obviously after 20 minutes, Mukul said, cut. He cut the scene. He said, cut the scene. He said, come on the side. I need to talk to you about something. And he said, you have to give me an opening. These guys are stonewalling me. There's no way. They've just ignored me. I'm just sitting there like an idiot on the side trying to get information out of them. So I said, okay, that was a mistake I made. So then I went to both of them and I said, listen, you guys got to give him a little opening. Just give him like a little bit and he will pry it out of you, but get a little pride. It's okay. All right. So then finally they were like, okay, fine. So they gave him a little bit and threw him a little bone here and all that stuff. And oh, dude, it was fun. So him being irritated in that scene was actually him actually being very irritated at the way it is. Oh, that was funny, man.
That's crazy, dude. Okay, so that reminds me. Let's talk about two moments where you were putting Ferry Folk together. A moment where you were like, oh shit, you didn't expect this to happen and it became a pivotal moment in the scene and this was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
And I'll come to the second one later.
Dude, one scene that was really cool, which I've put on the Ferry Folk Instagram wala page, was actually a scene that we couldn't put in the movie. Was this with CC, with Kabir, the character. He had run over a dog, basically in the movie. The thing is that he and Rithika, by mistake, had run over a dog. The dog's badly injured and they had to take him to a sort of a clinic to sort of do the work. So we shot the clinic in this one place, which is between Bombay and Pune, one of the places in the Karjat ke paas somewhere. So they opened the doors to us, this clinic, and they said that, listen, if this is the movie that you guys are making or whatever, then maybe just throw him into the deep end of actually being in the thing, because our vet is here and the vet's doing surgeries and all that stuff, so maybe he can just help with that. So I said, fine. So the vet just gave him gloves and said, just stand behind the dog and just hold the dog and just help us to do whatever, and we will instruct you whatever we need to do. And we just shot it. We had 2 or 3 cameras. We were shooting all of that stuff. So the dog that was in there had a maggot wound in its eye. So basically, it was what tends to happen with dogs is that if you do not get them sterilized, stray dogs or your own dog who was let out a lot, 2 males will begin to fight a lot for mating during the mating time, and they will bite at a part such as the back of the neck or places where they can't lick, basically. And if they bite over there and a wound happens, flies will sit on it. After flies, maggots sit on it. Once maggots get over there, then you have maybe about a week or so before the maggots erode the entire section and kill the animal completely. So this dude had a maggot wound in his eyeball. So his eyeball was missing. And he just had maggots stuck inside his eye completely that were going through his brain at that time. So you'll see in the shot as well, the guy lifted the neck of the dog. And you can see the eye as well completely distorted. Now, CC Kabir has never seen something like this in his life. And now he's being put in the deep. Doesn't know what to do with this thing. So he's sweating because it's hot. And he's sort of got his eyes are watering as well because he kind of likes dogs as well. And while all this is happening, maybe 10 minutes or so later, the doctor says that, so it's not going to be worth us saving this dog. He's not going to be thinking, so we'll have to put the dog down. Okay. So now Kabir is still holding, CC still holding the animal. And the doctor's like, is there anything you want to say to the dog? Anything like that? I'm laughing because it's not funny, but it's just the way it was for him. It's kind of, because I've been through it too many times. So, but it's just...
So you're filming all of this?
So that scene where they actually put the dog down is actually the dog being put down. And he had to sit there and hold the dog while it's being put down. So his hand on the thing and doing all of that stuff is him. I think he was really shaken by that time. And when we got done with that scene, he came out and he just sat and he didn't know what to do with himself for like a really long time. And I was like, man, listen, I'm really sorry this happened because we were not expecting it to be like that. But it's part of it, man. This is what happens to stray dogs. This is what happens to animals all the time. This vet sees this probably 5 times a day. But this is the game, man. This is what is, and this is what the character that he's trying to portray does as well. Now, it doesn't fit into the paradigm of a movie. So at the end, when you see the movie, you know what it is. It's a little bit more on the lighter side of it.
Yeah, it's a funny movie. And if you would have put this in the film...
It's a weird thing. It fits in the narrative, but it's not exactly what he's...
Tonally, it probably wouldn't have added up.
This is kind of like why we removed it. But it's there on Instagram. Anybody wants to go check it out also. It's really fun. Yeah.
Oh, man. And then just hearing about this...
Yeah. Have you ever seen... Did you see the thing on Instagram?
I haven't actually.
Check it out, though. It's with his face on it as well. It's quite crazy. I mean,
dude, before I ask you the second question about the moments, I know you and your wife are particularly invested in, animal care. In Goa, you have a clinic, right? So let's little digress over there in terms of not talking about filmmaking, but I really appreciate what you do. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So we don't necessarily have a clinic, but we sort of volunteer a lot with another clinic that's over there, and there are some other rescue centers that we sort of help out with. Currently, actually, our sort of life is sort of taken because we have 2 dogs of our own, and one of them is a really special needs kind of dog that we have. So a lot of our time goes into just this guy's help as well. But basically, in Goa and in India in general, we just have a lot of stray animals because we have a no-kill policy because we don't have kill shelters like a lot of Western civilization has, which is also a good thing and also a bad thing. And I'll tell you why it's a bad thing as well and a good thing. The good thing is that all the animals get to live on the street and we have to find a way to harmonize with these animals. The bad thing is that we don't have the kind of awareness in India to educate the people who actually live on the streets, who actually have animals that they've adopted, to care for these animals at the highest level. So for example, a maggot wound, which I was talking about, to tell them that this is a wound, we will get an animal at the clinic once the wound has already got maggots in it and it's already piercing through the thing. So we're already a little late by the time we get this animal. But if there was awareness about these things, which we try to do as much as we can, is that the awareness is the fact that get your animals sterilized. As soon as you get the animals sterilized, they stop getting into fights. Males especially, they don't get bitten on the back of their necks and all that other stuff. So that's the challenges that we constantly are facing with this. And we got into this, I think, back in we moved to Goa in 2013 from Bombay. And I think in 2014, we got into this because my wife was coming back home from work. And some car had gone over a puppy, basically, and almost killed the puppy. But the puppy was like yelping out sort of thing from the road. And Goa has tons of stray dogs. It's way more than Bombay. Okay, so everywhere you go, there are dogs. So so most people just run over the dog and they don't care. They just keep going. They don't care what happens to the dog, whatever it might be. So this puppy was started yelping. Aarti called me. She said, "Can you bring the car?" We got the car, put the puppy into a car, and took it to a one wet thing because it was a Sunday. So I think just the government one was open in Panjim or whatever. Took it over there. And then the vet said that, listen, we'll have to put the puppy down. Very similar to what happened to the Kabir thing. We got to put the puppy down. And I really started like feeling it hard. Like I started weeping really heavily in the car and everything. It was kind of like, I don't know why, it was just uncontrollable. It goes into a deeper issue of dealing with things like this, with the unfortunate, with the voiceless or whatever it might be. There are two ways to deal with it. One way is through empathy and the other way is through compassion. And it's actually said that the way to deal with it through compassion is the right way, and the wrong way to deal with it is through empathy, because empathy means that you got to put yourself in this, you have put yourself in the same place as that animal or as that person who's going through it, because you have trauma of yourself, which is back in the day, whatever might have happened. So he said, when you deal with empathy, you go in irrationally. You're sort of going in with complete emotion and you're not being able to hold things together. So you are not making the right decisions at that time. When you go in it with compassion, you're doing it from a distance, and hence you're far more helpful to the situation than if you were to go with it with empathy. Empathy is almost, helping through empathy is almost a way of, it's an uncontrolled help. And it's almost a little selfish where you're trying to help yourself. It's like that. It's like, are you rescuing animals to actually help the animal? Or are you rescuing animals to help yourself deal with something else which you should be dealing with in another way, not like this? Compassion, you actually deal with that thing as is, for that thing, for what it is.
Can you cite an example, like empathy versus compassion, like the two differences from a real life example?
I'll tell you, so recently, I think it was 2021 or something, Goa went through a really severe storm that time, and we had the monsoons or whatever, and me and Aarti were at a friend's house, and we got a call late at night that said that, listen, our dog has fallen in the well, and it's been 3.5 hours, and this dog has just been swimming in circles for 3.5 hours swimming in this well. Now, so she said, we got to help this dog out. So me and Aarti went over there. Now, Aarti is a lot better at this than I am. So I'm sort of functioning entirely from empathy. Aarti seems to function a lot more from compassion. She's a lot more level-headed about these things. So we reached over there. It was about 11:30. We called the fire department. We couldn't get through the fire department because they're the ones who usually come and help out with something like this. The puppy, he was like a yearling, so he was maybe less than a year old or whatever. He was swimming around in circles, and he would take his head and wedge it amongst the two pipes that come down to suck water up from the motor. So to rest, he would just pluck his head between the two pipes and sit there and just wait for maybe 5 minutes, take a breather, again swim in circles and again keep doing it. He just kept doing this in circles. At one point, I think he started yelping really loudly because he was getting tired and exhausted, obviously, right? And all the water is soaking through your body. And I couldn't help myself, so I started telling Aarti, I said, listen, dude, we got to put you in. I would go in myself. And it's 60 feet, dude, the well from the top.
How would you jump?
So we got a rope because I was just way louder than everyone else. So I said, listen, we got to get a rope. I'll tie you up and I'll take you down. And I will single-handedly, because you're half my weight, I can single-handedly pull you up. But I don't mind going down myself, but you will not be able to pull me back up. Now, Aarti was like, listen, Karan, I don't think that's a smart decision because it'll break and I will also fall in there. And then the animal is in there and we're both going to be stuck in there. I said, it won't break. Now, see, this is me functioning entirely from empathy, not from compassion. What she's saying is absolutely 100% correct. But I'm not listening to her. So I started saying, listen, I'm sure we can find a way. I can maybe cushion you. I can tie you up. Now this dog is yelping louder and louder at this time. So I'm even more like upset by what's going on. And then finally she agreed. She said, I'm going to do this, but I swear to God, if something happens, no, this is going to be the worst thing. Actually, I convinced her because I told her that, imagine if this was Rocco and Channing, which is our two dogs. I said, if they were in the well, would you think twice about doing this? She said, no, I wouldn't. I said, well, that's all it is then, really. And then so we started tying her up and all stuff. Thank God the fire department came at that time, saw her tied up, and I was about to lower her into the well. And I have to say, there were 6 other people there. All of them were telling me, Karan, this is a stupid idea. Do not do this thing. Like, your wife might die with this thing or whatever. I said, no, me and my wife don't care. We're perfectly fine, right? And my wife was like, no, Karan, I do kind of care. But I was like, but I can't help it. We just have to do this, whatever. So the fire department came, saw this, and the fire department first yelled at me. So what are you doing? Like, what is this thing that you're trying to do? I was like, we're trying to lower it. They said, you're never going to do that. This is 60 feet down. This is another 100 feet down to the bottom of that well. She could die if she hits the thing or whatever. So they came in with this really, really long rod, stuck that rod in, noosed the dog around not around the neck, behind the paws or whatever, tightened it, and just really quickly they rip it up, and the dog comes flying out like that, and we sort of get the dog out. But dude, it was scary, man. So it's like, and that's what empathy does, man. That's what's the messed up part about it. And it's a little devastating like that.
Dude, that story was...
We've done this too many times like this, and she's used to it, and she has a tough... Like, she's told me to get... Because I sort of go to therapy to handle some of these things as well because of this reason, because I have these weird reactions to these things, but it's what it is, yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Did you and Aarti have a fight?
No, we don't fight about this. She just says that just get help. Get help about it.
That's a great way to handle it.
Yeah, I think... Like, if there are dogs, especially in our neighborhood, and again, Goa has this 90% of the dogs in Goa are tied for like 23 hours a day outside the house. So they start to yelp and they have a specific bark when they're looking for freedom. So in our neighborhood, somebody will get 2 new puppies, they will start tying the puppies up. Now, when I start hearing those, I can't work anymore. I have to stop everything I do and go and deal with that. Aarti does not need to stop everything she does. She will sit there and she will keep working. She will give them a chance. She will say, maybe it is eating time. Maybe they have gone out for like an hour and that's where they've tied them up. I can't listen to that. So I will immediately go out there and try to figure it out, fight with them. I've gone into fights because of this and whatever. It's been bad over there, but that's how it is. That's, again, empathy versus compassion is that.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, it's weird, dude. But anyway, it's okay. We deal with it. Slowly, I'm getting better.
Dude, I'm glad that, there are people like you and Aarti helping dogs out, but it's also... I'm sure it must be taking a huge toll on you guys.
It is. So we have to keep a slight distance as well, because you can't help every animal out there. You can do the best that you can with what you got and the time that you got and the funds that you got. Money is a big role in this as well, because we might be completely broke and you can't afford a 20,000, 30,000 rupee like operation sometimes. And the amount of dogs that need it is a lot. So try to raise money, whatever it is, but we try, and that's the best we can do. I think the ultimate goal is to buy some land, get a rescue center going of our own, and see the best that we can do there. But dude, those will fill up, man. We fill those up all the time, dude. It's messed up. Anyways, whole other podcast conversation for that, man.
Yeah, man. I keep telling you, dude, you should
I know.
something.
Yeah, you were telling me before. Yeah, we'll start one up, man, and we'll see.
You should do it. So, one of the things that we generally like wrap the podcast with, and I think it's something that we have to talk about. I've witnessed your struggle from the sidelines,
Yeah.
in terms of putting your projects together, and you've been at it for years.
Yeah.
Let's talk about instances. Okay, yes, you've put 2 films together. Yes, you've worked with so many prominent filmmakers in different capacities, scoring, writing, and whatnot, right? But at the same time, it's been a long journey.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there have been instances where you were like, you know what, I don't know if I want to do this or if I can do this. You know, let's talk about those, because I think they're important to share so that our listeners, young filmmakers out there, realize that they're not alone if they're going through that.
Yeah. So I think the thing that really gets to you when you do it for long enough, as long as I have, whatever, and it's not about doing it for the length of time, it's about the compromises that you're not willing to make. So you do get opportunities along the way to make it rich and make it big, and I've had a couple of those. But it's about whether you want to say yes or no to them. And I've said no to them at times when I've needed money the most, and those are the most painful to do. But sometimes what you need to do is have another source of income sometimes, so that really helps. So from when I was making Shea, for example, I used to work for a magazine called AV Max, which was my day job. And my editor at that time, Swapnil, he was really, really sweet. And he said, listen, if you need to shoot the movie, all you need to do is come in here, do the reviews for TVs and speakers and all that, what we used to review. So just come into the studio, even if it's 10 o'clock at night, just come and do them for an hour or so and then go back. And I will mark your attendance as you've been coming, so I'll get a monthly salary at the end. Great. It was really good fun and we could do it like that. Then after a while, when I did not have that, and I had to just rely on like background score work or whatever it is, that became tough because the money would run out many a times. You would be in debt at that time because you're borrowing money or whatever. And I wish at that time I had some sort of thing to hold on to as another source of income. Because this is a weird place, weird field to be in, especially if you don't want to compromise. Like I didn't want to do ads and I never wanted to do just anything. I didn't want to just direct anything because it was coming to me. I can't do it like that. I had to be really close to the project to be able to do it. So then I had to find another way. So I think like right now, for example, I also do like coding on the side, which I try to get, work with and try to get that done and diversify, man. I don't think we can anymore survive. I don't think actors also that I know can just survive on acting sometimes, unless they're the top of the top, cream of the crop kind of thing, which are the A-listers. I think everybody else has to do something else. I know actors who are doing podcasts now, who are trying to diversify in that way. I think there are people who are, there are directors who are also trying to be editors. There is, trying to figure out what they can all do. So that's really helpful to do. That helps with the struggle. And as far as leaving it, I don't think it has ever been about I want to quit it for the work, because I love the work. That's what I felt like I don't know what else I can do with my time besides this. I get depressed when I'm not doing it. It is that I want to leave the way of doing it like this sometimes. So like Ferry Folk has been difficult. Shea was also difficult. And every time I finish a movie like this, like right now also I think, I'm never going to do it like this again. Because it's damn hard. Like it's like you're running for funds, you got to keep raising, you got to keep figuring it out. This time we had a lot more funds than before, but they keep running out even then. Like if you want to do a decent PR campaign that we're trying to do right now, it's still a huge chunk of change. And it's not just a change of paying the PR company and getting the things out, getting the ads out there. It's also changed like transportation. You got to also do standees. If you're doing a screening, you got to do refreshments, which are worth quite a lot of money at the end of the day if you call 150 people to that screening. So all these things pile up, and it just gets a lot. But if you had a company, for example, a production company to handle it, it's just, they can just do all of it. Like I'll give you an example is that I was doing Lakkot as well, and I was asking Navdeep, I'm like, Navdeep, what do you guys do for like PR? What do you do for all this stuff? He said, dude, I don't do all that stuff, dude. Who does all that? He's like, I used to do that stuff in film school. And Navdeep used to be like, dude, I don't like, were you making a spreadsheet for your finances? Like I used to do that stuff like in 1998 when I was in college, dude. I don't get on a computer for that. I got on a computer to write. That's all I do. And I direct it. That's what it is. So that's how the journey is for directors who've sort of made it in what they wanted to do over there. But yeah, I've chosen this, so this is what it is. Yeah.
Good one, man. It's this conversation has been dude, I want to end the podcast with one very specific question. What are the 3 things you want to tell young independent filmmakers in 30 seconds or less?
Oh shit, dude. You could put a timer also. There's just write as much as you can. Actually, no, more than writing. I'd say first and foremost, make your tastes better. Watch better stuff than what you think you're watching. You can always do better. Like, get into the movies and get into the old stuff as much as you can as well. I mean, watch the stuff made in the 50s, watch them made in the 40s. Watch the Indian stuff that's made in the 50s and the 40s as well. Watch where we have come from all of that.
Go on to the second thing.
Yeah, okay. Second thing is then write. Do that. And then make everything that you can from scratch. Try to do everything that you can in films. Don't just stick to writing and directing or whatever. Do everything, at least once. Yeah.
Got it. Good one. Dude, this has been an inspiring conversation.
Thanks, man.
Also, I'm going to process that whole dog bit for a bit.
Yeah.
Dude, that was horrifying, man. But thanks for the conversation. I hope to bring you on again once you've had your another project going on.
Done.
And what's the next project coming up for you anyway?
Nothing, man. I think I'm writing something about time travel and stuff like that I'm trying to figure out. So let's see.
Got it. And you're also working on a show, right?
I was. Oh, you mean for writing? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, but that's I don't care.
See, that's a passionate filmmaker who really appreciates his own films, right? And I hope you guys watch Ferry Folk. It's a beautiful film. It's very reflective, and you'll find a part of you in it, I promise. And we'll bring Karan on board again once he's done with his next film. Yeah. Thanks so much. Great conversation.
Man. Hey, you guys please watch it on March 1st. It's releasing in theaters. Yeah.